Afternoon all.
Hi.
Hello. How are we doing?
Welcome to Coffee with Katie and Luke, and today I actually have some coffee. What do you have?
I have a herbal thing, a detox.
Detox herbal thing?
Detox herbal thing.
Absolutely nothing detox about this coffee.
No, it's a pre-tox.
What did you call it earlier? What was the...
I said it smelled like bovril.
Oh, yeah. And then you said about, I want to say 40 hours, that's not the thing.
Blackadder. Oh no, it's Blackadder. Yeah. So was it Blackadder the third, where he goes into Mrs. Miggins' coffee shop and he says, Mrs. Miggins, I'll have a cup of your finest hot water with brown grit in it. And that's
exactly what this is, yeah.
What that is.
Yeah. Delicious.
Cheers.
Cheers to brown grit.
Cheers to brown grit. It's going well.
So talking of brown grit, diet, this coffee probably isn't in that plan. Yours is slightly more healthy.
Well, is it?
Well, in its bleached tea bag.
Yes, well, exactly.
Who knows?
And I don't know what's in it. I mean,
yeah,
we
that's
never
true.
do
We never do.
No, we're just taking it on faith.
So diet's a big deal for me. My body only functions through food. And I'm at my best health when I'm doing food right, and I'm at my worst health when I'm doing food wrong. Does that resonate for you?
Oh, God, absolutely. Yeah. And I've tried to pretend that's not the case, especially at Christmas, when I'm like, oh, Christmas pudding, and you know.
Christmas
like,
everything.
Christmas
delicious.
chocolate for breakfast, it's Christmas. And then 3 days later, normally the food hangover wakes up 3 days later, and I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, I like having food hangover for a month, though.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
It's just, I think why, we get the January blues, I think it's just come down from the food.
Yeah, you might be right. And the alcohol, don't forget as well. So I know not for you, but if you drink and you've been drinking a lot, then January hits and your liver's like, oh.
People blame that it's finances or it's the weather. Well, I reckon it's the food.
I think it's all of it.
A combination.
Miserable, longest month of the year. It feels like food, alcohol, back to reality in a job that you probably didn't want to be in. So.
Not for us.
Not for us. No, living the dream.
So we can be miserable and unemployed.
Yes, yay. Used to that.
I've been on a massive journey with diet.
Especially recently as well.
I mean, for a long time, really. But I mean, it's just cropped up again recently, I guess. But even to the point that then I was working as a diet coach through one of these schemes. Multi-level marketing, if you want to put it politely, and thinking that what I was doing was in alignment with what I believed, and at the time it worked really well for me, and I felt really good, and I lost the weight. But in hindsight, and then I've started to really look at what's in food. Yeah. And ingredients is a massive thing for me because I want to use oat milk as an example. At the moment, oat milk is very much becoming the go-to. And yes, there are some oat milks that are like oat and water. Yes. Wonderful. But then there are other oat milks, the most delicious ones. Yes. They're really addictive. That are like 15 ingredients in them. Yeah, mainly rapeseed oil, which is not always good for you. We kind of have a big question mark over oils like that because they're really processed. And also they'll put sugar in it to make it taste nice. And of course, real cow's milk or whatever other kind of animal milk you would drink would have some natural sugars in it. But, when you start to... It's the difference between natural and processed though, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a bunch of ingredients that have been stuck together to make a new thing. And I found this also because I've been gluten-free for years. And the gluten-free products, I mean, they used to be atrocious, but they're getting better. But the amount of crap they put in them to make them better, to make them more palatable. Well, that's it. What do you mean by better? I think we often, especially when we're trying to cut stuff out of our diet, and when I'm speaking now as a nutrition and health coach, that's my training. When you try and cut stuff out of your diet because you're trying to be healthier, you do have to look at what you're replacing it with, because just because something tastes just as nice or looks just as nice doesn't mean it is nutritionally just as good for you. And just because the label's got those green little indicators on doesn't mean... I mean, Diet Coke is a great example. Yeah. And pretty much every diet plan, Diet Coke is... you're allowed it. And on the label, it's got all green, on this traffic light system. But it's just chemical. Well, there's real, science coming out now. And I was listening, I think I mentioned on my own
my own page a while back. I was listening to a podcast with Rangan Chatterjee, who's a great GP, and it was him and Chris Van Tulliken, who they do a lot of. Him and his brother Zand. They do a load of stuff for kids TV, and they also do BBC TV. And they were talking about processed food, and Chris was saying, there's research coming out that shows aspartame is chemically, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous substance, and we're drinking it and we're giving it to our kids.
It is in pretty much every diet product.
Because it's a cheap, sweet alternative to sugar, which actually our bodies know what to do with sugar in a certain amount, but not aspartame.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I mean, there's other sugars that have come out now, like stevia as an example, and it depends what, I guess, research you look at or what angle the research is coming from, but there's even talk about it's deemed as a natural alternative, but even like agave and all those things, but it seems like even potentially they could have adverse effects.
Agave especially has got a very high glycemic index, so it's very, very hard for your body it's hard on your body. And I think a lot of these fruit sugars as well, they're 50% fructose, which means they go straight to your liver and they get turned into fat, basically, from what I understand. So, you're putting pressure on your liver, you're putting pressure on your pancreas, which is meant to be looking after your blood sugar levels. Not necessarily any healthier than plain sugar, just less of it.
So I don't give my children sugar, so they have a sugar-free diet. I guess initially it was around behaviour, but also my beliefs that I don't want them to have the addictions that I have, because I'm a real sugar addict. But equally, I don't want to also give them the alternatives, but that's really hard. Especially it's just common nature. You treat your children, you reward them with delicious sweet things, or you show affection through things like that, and that's just very normal. And even at school, it's someone's birthday and everyone will get a pack of sweets or something, and there's me running in with a box of raisins, like, oh, it's all right, I've got something for you. I remember us giving out raisins for my daughter's birthday, and all the kids going, ugh.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, but it's just so culturally a thing. But I don't know what's right and what's wrong. Is it about the lesser of the evils, or who knows?
I really struggle with this. I really struggle, because you've caught your kids, they're very young, and so you can start young. But I think I found out about all this when my kids were older, and I've really struggled, because when I was at school, I never really fitted in anywhere. I didn't really have any sort of buddies or friends or anything after a certain age. I just struggled, and I would hate for them to feel left out because they're having something different. And funnily enough, on that podcast, they talk about exactly that, because Rangan's very much, my kids don't eat that sort of stuff, none of it at all. And Chris is very much, well, we have a blue bowl, he said, and they can have a thing from the blue bowl. But he wrangles with it as well, because
it's so hard.
So I've sort of, for me, what I've taken the approach of is I let them have this stuff, and the guilt, but at the same time, we talk about food, and we talk about nutrition, we talk about what's healthy, and I'm hoping, and I don't know, I'm just hoping that they get to that point when they sort of decide for themselves, they have that knowledge.
Yeah, it's a good approach, but there's also a huge element of realness. Like, we're not preaching being perfect parents by any means. Literally this weekend,
got a clue.
I was messaging Katie. She's like, "Oh, what are you up to?" I was like, "I'm in McDonald's with the children." So,
Maggie
D.
D.
I know, and I put hashtag shameful parenting, and you just replied with, "No, real parenting.
It's real parenting. It's live." Yeah. My youngest loves McDonald's chicken nuggets. He's just obsessed with them, and I'm like, I've tried. They're like disgusting, but he loves them.
It's one of the things I really miss from being gluten free.
Is
McNuggets.
Really? How? They're horrible.
Oh no! I used to get like a box of 20, and then the sweet and sour sauce. Perfect.
No, you're
good.
You're wrong about that. You're wrong about rich tea biscuits as well. So we just have to agree.
But I was right about vanilla milkshake.
Yeah, you were. It is vanilla milkshake, because I was saying that's what I used to always have: vanilla milkshake and salty fries. Like, it's just the perfect combination.
Not dipped in.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Get out.
Absolutely, it tastes amazing. that's salty sweet, but that, your brain is hardwired to crave that. It really is.
Yeah.
So, it's like ding, 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 all your neurotransmitters are going crazy. So, yeah, of course you're going to like it. And I think that's the thing. We have to stop beating ourselves up. Of course we're going to like this food. It's nice.
It's designed for us to like it.
Exactly. They have teams of people who will test food. I mean, I've read this. They will test rats. They do a lot of sort of animal testing, and they'll test what kind of combinations of fat, sugar, and salt it takes for them to reach what they call the bliss point, which is where they just can't stop eating. And for a lot of products that we buy, they have been manufactured to trigger that. So the next time you go, oh, I just can't have one biscuit. Well, of course not, because science says they don't want you to. Of course they don't want you to. They want you to have the whole packet.
Yeah.
They don't care. That's the thing. I think we need to remember that's not what they care about. They are a business.
Yes, their goal is profit, not health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even the diet products.
Yes, absolutely.
Even more so.
Yeah.
I mean, you eat a whole pack of Bourbons and then you go and buy a Slim Fast or whatever, I guess it's designed that way, isn't it? You get hooked on one, you fix yourself with the other, and it's just cyclical. So many people, and that's how we get yo-yo dieting, I guess, but I've been guilty of this myself. You go through a phase where you just can't stop eating, and then you go through a phase of, oh, I'm going to be good, and I'm going to buy the other products that let me be good and feel good about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've studied this and I've researched it, and I believe, and I can honestly say I know that what happens is your hunger signals get hijacked by these foods. So we have natural appetite hormones that tell us when we're hungry, when we're full, and all that sort of stuff. When you eat a lot of processed food and a lot of sugary, sweet, perfect neurotransmitter crazy food, your natural hormones can't kick in. They're just hijacked. So what really you have to do is go back to a whole food diet as far as possible. Because what happens then is they start to rebalance, and you start to notice, and I was just talking with a patient of mine last week, you start to notice how you can look at something and you just feel nothing, which for some people is a real revelation. They're the ones queuing in the coffee shop and there's a cake and it's staring at them in the glass cabinet. They're like, oh, I need to have a piece of that. And then suddenly, because they've re-engineered their hormones, it doesn't happen.
I can talk about this from my own perspective of going gluten-free. I tried gluten-free for years, but, I wasn't 100%. And then I learned the importance of going 100% gluten-free, and I'm just kind of rehashing what I was told through my medical herbalist, that it takes 3 months for gluten to pass through your system. Gluten is the Latin word for glue, so it kind of gets stuck in your intestines, and then it takes 3 months to pass, a bit like when you eat chewing gum, and that takes whatever. And so she said that every time you cheat, you're just sitting it back in your system for 3 months. So I went 100% gluten-free, and then I completely lost any craving for the stuff.
Isn't it weird?
And so then I don't even need the alternatives anymore.
Yes.
So I very rarely buy any of the alternatives. Yeah. Very rarely. As a treat, like the other day, I bought a gluten-free tiger loaf and a camembert. Ooh. And it was delicious.
Oh, but that.
But, it was more about the camembert than it was about the bread. I just wanted something to dip in it.
Well, that's the thing about carbs. They're a vehicle for other stuff.
Yeah. And, I've also been known just to dip a steak in camembert, so I don't even have to have the bread. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't really actually crave any of the wheat-based alternatives at all. So I get that. I can go in a cake shop and I can be like...
It's a weird feeling. It's not like you don't want it. You're just indifferent.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel anything. And it's because that sort of response that you would have had, your body's not making those chemicals anymore. So you're just not... doesn't do anything. It's like looking at, I don't know, look at the cash register and feel the same way. It's literally, I feel nothing. It's just there.
Yeah. And so it's been really amazing for me to get to that point. It's the sugar that I haven't managed it with.
Yeah.
That's the bit where I struggle. I mean, I'm a self-confessed sugar addict. I literally had some chocolate before you got here.
Oh my gosh. But chocolate is life. What one was it?
It was a 75% dark chocolate.
There we go.
Yeah, we're both dark chocolate fanatics.
Yeah, I'm 85.
You're 80 though. She's a bit braver than me.
80. I love a bit of 85. That's my Cadbury's.
Yeah. Although 70? No, 70, not 75. 70.
It's 70, isn't
yes.
it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
No,
really good.
85. I just love it. There's nothing wrong with that because chocolate's got loads of good stuff in it. I mean, people argue about whether it is or isn't good for you. It's got caffeine in it as well, but it is good for you generally.
Yeah. Better than a Kinder Bueno.
Yes, define better. Yeah.
But again, I don't even crave that stuff, which is amazing,
No.
because I used to be able to just eat those.
Kinder Buenos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the sugar is interesting because the science says that actually it's more addictive than drugs, than cocaine. You know, you put rats in a lab and you give them cocaine one end and a cocaine solution and a sugar solution, they go for the sugar.
Yeah. But again, it depends, like, where is this science coming from? Because I found this often, you know, if you talk to a doctor, for example, they say, well, there's no research that sugar is addictive. There's no evidence. I'm like, well, yes, but who's going to fund that research? And if someone is making money from selling those products or selling, I'm kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, or selling a drug that will help you to manage those products or make you feel better after eating those products, of course they're not going to invest in proving that they don't work.
Yes.
You know, or that they're not good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we have to remember that research only comes about because somebody had an idea and then they pitched that idea for research and other people agree to fund it. So
yeah, so it's all about who the investor is.
It is who the investor, but then there's also how the study was conducted, because, you know, it might be that a certain method that's used, maybe it wasn't followed rigorously, maybe it was the wrong method. Especially in nutrition research, it's very shaky ground. There's a lot of what they call epidemiological. I actually got that word out.
Okay.
Epidemiological research, but that is designed for the movement of viruses through populations. It's not designed for understanding the impact of food on people. It's a self-reported. Did you have orange juice for breakfast? Yes or no? It's all, you know, long detailed forms that you get people to fill in, and they don't tell you the truth, and they might forget, and they're all very weird questions. So what comes out the other end, we just have to take it with a pinch of salt. We really do, because it might be a correlation, but we can't say with absolute truth.
My understanding is there's not also a lot of study done on nutrition from a medical perspective either, in terms of if you were to study to be a GP. I don't think there's a lot of nutrition study amongst what they learn, is my understanding.
That is my understanding as well. I've spoken to a few people and they say the same thing, that, you know, please tell me, if you work in the medical profession, if you're a GP, do you study nutrition? Because I find that bizarre. It's like a mechanic studying how to put a car back together, but they don't study anything about petrol or additives, or like, you just wouldn't, you know, because they're all interlinked. So it is a massive oversight. So from my knowledge as well, that is the case.
Yeah. And so then that leaves us to do our own research.
Yeah.
And then that's a minefield.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because then you get into the realm of what sells a book and who's got what opinion.
Yeah. And what worked for one might not necessarily work for others. So I'm a huge believer in that our bodies aren't all the same. You know, and what might work for me might not work for you.
Yeah.
And we don't need to go down the route of this conversation, but it's like a spectrum. If you were to go from like vegan to carnivore and everything in between, like some of that stuff's going to work one end for one person, some of that stuff's going to work the other end for another, and then the real balanced diet is going to work for others.
Yes.
You know, I just don't think that one size fits all in any respect, but I understand that a lot of the medical system is about this one thing works for this one condition, regardless of who you are.
Yes, exactly. And having a blueprint diet, I mean, the sort of standard, what is it called? The Eat Well Guide, I think the NHS uses, is, I mean, you can't, I don't believe you can use that for people, like you say, because I would completely agree with the spectrum. And when I learned nutrition, that's what we were shown. And also it's important to remember what might work now might not work in the future, so you have to just keep seeing yourself as an experiment, I think.
I think that's important as well, because I think that people say, well, people were never gluten intolerant in my day, but food wasn't processed the way that it was back then, so times changed. You know, if you were to have traditionally milled wheat and traditionally made loaf of bread, it wouldn't have been processed as much, because the gluten increases during the processing.
Yeah.
So of course you're not going to be gluten intolerant, because you're not having high volumes of gluten.
Yes.
But now, because everything's so processed and so churned, that the gluten is greater in a modern loaf of bread. So of course we've got a nation of people that are gluten intolerant, because we're having higher levels than we've ever had in humanity before.
Yeah.
So you have to also look at the environment and where are your food coming from, what's culturally the norm, how is this different to how it was 50 years ago?
Yes, exactly.
So there'll be modern responses to modern food.
Yeah.
Which are not necessarily, you know, and a study might have been done about nutrition, but that study might have been from the 70s.
Yeah.
But food is very different from now to what it was in the 70s. So again, what are we looking at, playing with, working with? It's a minefield. It's all so different.
It is. I mean, there is a blueprint, I think, and I think you and I agree on the basic blueprint, but we also agree that everybody's going to sit on a different place in that spectrum. So for me, I see the blueprint as being meat, yes, meat, not for everybody, but meat, fish, vegetables, eggs, nuts, seeds, natural stuff that you can recognise as coming from a plant or an animal. And then how much and what that looks like for you will be completely different to what it looks like for me. You know?
I just think that the closer we can eat to one ingredient, the better. So, you know, meaning if we buy oven chips is a great example. We buy a bag of oven chips and there might be somewhere between 3 and 15 ingredients in a bag of oven chips. Or we can buy a potato and have one ingredient. Exactly. Maybe put a bit of oil, 2 ingredients.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I'm like, can we eat as close to one ingredient as possible?
Yeah,
that's personally what works for me.
Yeah.
So most of my meals are based around that.
Yeah.
So even yesterday, my dinner was rice and chicken.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I ate 2 ingredients on my plate.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and a bit of salt. So
yeah.
From that perspective, I'm trying to keep things as basic as possible. But if I then got a ready meal, there could be like 40 ingredients in that ready meal.
Exactly.
And even if it's a rice and chicken ready meal, there'll still be like 40 ingredients in it.
Yeah, exactly. And things you won't find in your kitchen either, like,
Yeah.
you know, methyl, carboxyl, cellulose, or whatever it is. You know, like things like, what even is that? I don't know.
Like if you look at it and you don't know what it is, should you be eating it?
I know. I think actually, the traffic light system is a good guide of what not to eat. if it's got a traffic light anywhere on it, if you need to be told,
it's processed.
Yeah, it's a processed food. You know, you don't see it on a piece of broccoli. So
yeah, that's true. That's really a good point.
Yeah.
So avoid the traffic light system at all costs. Yeah.
But of course, that's not real life.
No, you can still go
and
to
that's
McDonald's.
What we're about. But that's real life. So
Yeah,
this is the world we live in. It's really, really hard.
Really hard.
I remember I watched a great program about the blue zones, which again are quite controversial to some people in my nutrition community because it's not black and white, but it's about people who live the longest, healthiest lives, basically.
Greece is on there.
Greece, yeah, definitely is on there.
There's high carbs and not cigarettes.
Yeah, Well, you see, but that's the thing. It's all about balance. It's all about trying to find what works. And I've completely forgotten what I was going to say about the blues. Those are I'd already forgotten before you said, Luke. There's something in there. I'll come back to in a minute.
I think that's interesting though, because the Greece is on there, and there are high carb, high meat, high vegetables as well. To be fair, but you know, when we go to Greece, and my husband's family live in a big city, they still go to the butcher, to the baker, to the greengrocer, and they still buy all those things, right?
Yeah.
So at least they have supermarkets and they have processed stuff because it's still Western world, but generally day to day they still buy from the little local independent. So they know that what they're getting is more likely to be a product rather than a processed product, right?
Yeah, you've reminded me what I was going to say, because that's it. So that's what they do. And I think because of what we have here, we have supermarkets and, you know, it's so easy with a busy life because of the context that we're living in. We go to the supermarket and we buy stuff that's there. But these people, part of the reason they live such long, healthy lives is because that's what they do. It's what everyone does. Yeah. So when everyone's doing it, of course it's going to be easy. But, you know, everyone's going to supermarkets, so it's going to be harder. The
other thing, like they had a McDonald's in Greece. It was actually underneath Alex's apartment, but it closed down within a few months.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They've got their. I don't know, before he moved here, so more than 10 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
But it just didn't last because they won't eat. Generally speaking, they only eat local foods. So they'll have a Greek takeaway, or they've got their Greek version of McDonald's, but they won't be like here, where you can go on Just Eat and you can like order from like 40 different cultures of food, and including a whole bunch of processed foods or chains and things like that, and they just don't really have that as much out there. So really if they're gonna have takeaway, like when we're there, it will be like a local meat and chips kind of place, like gyros or chicken or whatever, and then they'll also have vegetable dishes and dips and stuff, but again, all local stuff.
Oh, nice.
Or it will be this burger chain called Goodies, which is a bit like McDonald's, slightly. It's a bit like Wimpy, actually. Do you remember
Oh
Wimpy?
yeah, I remember Wimpy. They're still going. There's a couple of them.
And that's really it. You don't have a lot of other options. So again, it's very different. And when I used to live in the States, you just drive down the road and there'll be like 10 different drive-throughs.
Yeah. And they don't always have a sidewalk, do they? They don't have pavements over there. Like, you just have to drive. So there's a cultural problem as well.
And how easy is that when you're driving past all this advertising for these foods that make you salivate because they're full of stuff that are, that are designed, as you say, for I forgot what the word you used.
Bliss point.
Bliss point, yeah. And of course it's easy just on your way home just to drive in. Yeah. You don't even have to get out of your car.
And they're all the marketing beautifully done, all nicely paid for, pretty shiny pictures telling you what, come in here.
I lived there. I just ate my way through every day. It was delicious.
That's amazing.
But it's not sustainable.
No, it's not. Do you think though in Greece, what you just said, I was thinking, do you think they also don't have a taste for it? Because I find that when I eat better and then I eat rubbish, I go, oh, actually I don't really like that. Because I can taste it's not as
nice. I do think they don't have a taste for it. I think if I just take my in-laws as an example, when they come here they tend to cook, and they won't even really eat what I cook. They'll cook stuff for us because they have a very limited palate in terms of what they're willing to try. Yeah. So when I say, oh, should we get Chinese? They're like, oh no. No,
I guess that's more.
I'll just have a block of feta.
but feta.
I know.
Feta is like.
It cracks me. It's a kind of a running joke in our family.
Is it really?
About the block of feta. My mother-in-law sometimes will go to a restaurant and just pull a block out of her bag and pop it on the table.
Yeah. You did that to me when I came over for lunch.
I did give you feta. It's a thing. For a lot of cultures, you just have bread with everything, right? Yeah. In Greece, it's better.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I think, for me, that's better.
That feta is better. There's a rhyme there. I love that. Yeah, in Italy, when I went to Italy, they do the same with parmesan. They just pass a chunk of parmesan around.
Oh, delicious.
Oh, yeah. It's good stuff.
All right, who's hungry? Happy lunchtime, everyone. Look, we could talk about diet all day.
I know. I did say it's a dangerous topic.
It is, yeah. So maybe we will talk about diet again another day. But just let us know what your experience is with diet. What do you think? Yeah. What do you feel? What have you explored? Because we agree that it's a spectrum and that not one person is the same. So what do you think?
Yeah, tell us. Really want to know.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a lovely rest of your Monday. Enjoy your week.
See you, folks.
See you next week.
See you again soon. Bye.